Tom Mays, and I work in the education section at the British Council in Tokyo, Japan. The British Council are co-hosting today's event together with Keio University. Thank you all for coming in such great numbers today. I'm pleased to say this is actually the third year of us doing the Experience Japan exhibition. We've had a record number of pre-registrations, so nearly double last year's total. We're up to just under 1,000 this year, which I think just goes to show that the appetite for all things Japan has never been greater. In terms of changes in Japan between last year's event and now, obviously I think the biggest happening was the announcement that the Olympics will be held in Japan in 2020. And I've been living in Tokyo now for 5 years or so, and I've never felt such a positive vibe in the air. I think the Japanese are really looking forward to hosting the Olympics. And as a result, I think there's a big drive now from the government, from industry, and from universities and academia as well to internationalize as much as possible in the run-up to the event. And that's why they're offering you so many opportunities to go out there and experience Japan. So there's a huge array of courses at universities, at language schools, and there's also various possibilities in terms of working in Japan, which takes us nicely on to today's first session, which is on the various working opportunities that are available in Japan. We've got two speakers for this session. The first of those is Kiko Hill from DISCO, which is a job recruitment agency that specializes in working in Japan. Kiko will be introducing the kind of opportunities that are currently available out there and also giving some advice for those interested in working out in Japan. And then after that, we'll have Hermione Waterfield giving a talk on the JET program. The JET program is one of the most popular ways for university graduates to experience Japan, either teaching English out there or working for local government. I myself was fortunate enough to go on the JET program around 5 years ago. I had a fantastic experience, and it really set me up for my current position at the British Council in Japan. So, without further ado, I'd like to ask Kiko to the stage to give the talk from DISCO. Kiko.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to today's talk on working in Japan. My name is Kiko Hill, and I work for a Japanese human resources consulting company called DISCO Inc. And I've basically come to talk to you today about the various work opportunities that are available to international graduates and so on wanting to go and work in Japan. So I'd just like to start by introducing myself. I myself am half Japanese, half English, but I grew up in England. And I've always been interested in Japanese culture and the prospect of working in Japan when I was older, etc. So I studied Japanese at university for 4 years, which included 1 year of study abroad in Japan in my third year. I then graduated from university in June 2012. So just over a year ago, I graduated, and I've now been working in Japan in the DISCO Tokyo headquarters for just over a year now, since last October. So for any of you that are at university or who are interested in studying in Japan or working in Japan, I've personally been through the process of studying Japanese, studying in Japan, as well as working in Japan in the very few recent years of my life. So if any of you have any questions, please feel free to ask if we have time at the end of the talk, or if not, I'll be upstairs in the DISCO booth for the rest of the day, so please feel free to come and ask any questions. So, why work in Japan, and what kind of job opportunities are there for international individuals wanting to work in Japan? Well, the answer is a lot. In recent years, as Japan has continued to globalize and internationalize, there have been an increasing number of opportunities available to internationals wanting to work in Japan. As a country, Japan is obviously very culturally dynamic. It's very famous for things such as, obviously, you have anime. It's very kind of got this image of being very high-tech and modern. And historically, you obviously have samurai, geisha. It's also got some of the best food in the world, I think. And I think one of the things that makes Japan so exciting as a country is the fact that despite being so high-tech and modern, it still retains many of its age-old traditions, and therefore it's very interesting in the way that it's really an embodiment of the old meets the new in one location. My personal experiences of living and working there have been absolutely amazing. I'm very happy to say that a year after going there has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. Despite having a few reservations before going, I can confidently say I'm very happy working there now. So, I'd just like to share with you some results of an online survey that was conducted by Disco. The survey asked nearly 1,000 Japanese companies if they were actively recruiting or were planning to recruit international graduates into their companies. So as you can see, in 2013, this year, a total of 35% of Japanese companies said that they were actively recruiting international candidates into their companies. By international, I mean individuals that are of non-Japanese nationality, so who are foreigners from a Japanese perspective. And next year, the predicted results are expected to increase to nearly half of all Japanese companies wanting to recruit internationals. The notion of Japanese companies having to specify we want to recruit foreigners into our companies may seem a little strange, but obviously it's important to remember, I think, that as a country, Japan is less culturally diverse than a lot of Western countries. I mean, historically, you do have less foreigners living and working there. If you go outside of the major cities, it's still not uncommon to be the only foreigner in the vicinity. But what these results obviously show is that a lot of Japanese companies are now actively trying to recruit more global talent into their companies. These results as well, they do not necessarily mean that all other Japanese companies are not recruiting internationally. These simply show the results of companies that are making a conscious decision to try and recruit international candidates. So obviously the demand is increasing for individuals such as yourselves who may be interested in working there. Similarly, these show the results of the trend in Japanese companies' global hiring needs in recent years. So as you can see, from 2010 through to 2013, the need for Japanese companies, or the demand for Japanese companies wanting to recruit international candidates, has nearly doubled in the last 3 years. What Japanese companies are essentially looking for from international candidates are people that have international experience, either living, studying, or growing up abroad, who have exceptional language skills, and who basically have a different kind of cultural background and a global mindset, who can offer different skills to domestic Japanese graduates, and so on. The reasons for the increase in this demand for global talent they can mainly be broken down into three. The first main reason is quite simply globalization. So not just Japanese companies, but companies around the world, as they're more and more globalizing their business operations and internationalizing, expanding overseas, especially into emerging markets, they are more and more in need of people that can provide the right language skills and multicultural understanding that will allow them to compete across borders in emerging markets. Another reason is Japan does have a shrinking market, business market. Obviously, the impact of the global economic crisis of 2008 also hit Japan as well. And Japan, on top of that, has an aging, shrinking population. So Japanese companies are more and more looking overseas to expand their business markets. And with this, they want to recruit more and more international candidates. A lot of companies that Disco work with as well say that they are eager to recruit people that can stimulate change from within the company. So what this basically means is they want to recruit people that have a different range of skills and can provide something different to what normal Japanese domestic candidates can. So obviously, if you think about not just with Japanese companies, or even not just in a professional context, but in general, the more diverse and interesting, I guess, a team, the more different skills that a team has, the stronger that team is going to be and the more it can offer. This here just shows the trend in the number of international students studying in Japan in recent years, as I'm sure many of you are interested in studying in Japan. This shows the trend in the number of international students in Japan from 1983 through to 2012. As you can see, there's been an increase throughout the years, with the total number of international students studying in Japan standing at close to 138,000 as of May last year. As you can see, there's a slight dip in the middle of the graph. That is due to the Asian financial crisis of 1997, during which time the Japanese Ministry of Education temporarily tightened its visa restrictions, making it harder to go and study in Japan as a foreigner. But following the loosening of these visa restrictions, there was again a very steep increase in the number of international students in Japan from 1999 onwards. And again, at the top of the graph there, the slight dips are due to factors such as I said, the global economic crisis of 2008, as well as the March 2011 earthquake and tsunami that hit Japan. But overall, what we've seen is the total number of international students in Japan nearly triple in the last 15 years. So it's becoming a more and more popular destination for international students to go and study. Sorry, I should have said as well, with this, the number of internationals wanting to stay in Japan and work in Japan is also continuing to increase. With this, as I said, the number of Japanese companies wanting to recruit international graduates is increasing. Reasons given by Japanese companies for wanting to recruit international graduates are as follows. These, again, are the results of a survey conducted by DISCO. As you can see, the number one reason given by most companies is to recruit exceptionally talented individuals. So individuals, like I said, who have a different range of skills. They have language skills and multicultural understanding, different skills that can be offered to Japanese graduates. Another thing to bear in mind as well is that a lot of Japanese companies, as well as seeking the skills that an individual has as an international graduate, another thing that they say is very valuable about recruiting international individuals is the fact that as an international individual who has either gone to study abroad or who's trying to go and work abroad, one of the things that they find very, very valuable is that individuals who have that drive and ambition and the organizational skills to actually get outside of their comfort zone and go abroad are usually the kind of people that have the drive and the ambition to become global business leaders in the future. So those are the kind of skills as well that Japanese companies are looking for. As you can see, other reasons that come high up are to strengthen international business relations and for the operation of company offices overseas. So what Japanese companies are looking for are people that have a thorough understanding and expertise in foreign fields that cannot be obtained in Japan. These results look at the specific skills that Japanese companies look for in international candidates. As you can see here, the results are split into non-technical major and technical major categories. The reason it is split in this way is because I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the fact that a lot of the time recruitment in Japan is split according to whether an individual has majored in a technical field. So technical would refer to sciences, mathematics, and so on, or non-technical fields such as humanities, arts, etc. The reason recruitment is split in this way is quite often because the kind of skills that an individual has, depending on whether they majored in a technical or non-technical field, will quite often be different. Although this is a very, very big generalization, overall, what companies tend to see is that individuals that majored in technical fields seem to have more specialized skills in specific given areas, whereas non-technical majors seem to have a broader range of skills that are more applicable to a wider range of job roles, essentially. So it doesn't mean that one is more valuable than the other. It just means that the skills that companies look for in individuals are likely to be different, depending on whether that individual majored in a technical or non-technical field. So please, if you are thinking of job hunting in Japan, bear this in mind. The kind of skills that a company looks for from you may be different depending on what your major is. Having said that, as you can see, for both non-technical and technical majors, the top 3 skills that Japanese companies are looking for from international graduates are Japanese language skills, multicultural skills, and communication skills. So as an international working in Japan, Japanese companies, I find they are very, very appreciative and really want your skills as an international. I've personally found as well, working in Japan as a British national, that they really, really want me to use my skills as a foreigner. They don't want me to become the same as all other Japanese workers, and they want me to really kind of utilize what I have as an individual. However, having said that, they do highly, highly value Japanese language skills. So what they want are people that can conduct business bilingually across borders and so on. And then, of course, multicultural skills and communication skills tie in with that ability to conduct business internationally. Other skills that come very high up are obviously English skills, English language skills. So for anyone who is English or is currently living or studying or working in England, obviously you have an advantage. English is the international business language used worldwide. So individuals with Japanese and English as bilingual language skills are very highly in demand. And then obviously, as you can see, teamwork skills, versatility, ability to deal with stress if you're a technical major, etc. These are the kind of skills that are useful to bear in mind if you apply to a Japanese company. Make sure that you're able to show that you have these skills. Another useful thing to bear in mind when applying for a Japanese companies will very often use these three main areas to assess a candidate before deciding whether they'd like to recruit them. So the first point that they focus on is individuality and character. This basically means your personality, your sense of values, your philosophy, and so on. A lot of Japanese companies will form their own philosophy and sense of values, and what they are looking for are people that can understand those sense of values and will basically be a positive contribution to the company working environment. Academic skill and ability are pretty self-explanatory. They want to see how strong you are academically, language skills, teamwork skills, and so on. These all come under the academic skill and ability bracket. And they're basically looking for people that can meet the required performance level for any job role. The definition of a highly qualified candidate will obviously vary depending on which company you apply for, as well as the job role that you apply for. But they're looking for people that can meet the required performance level. And like I said, very importantly, cultural and social adaptability. So they want people that can possibly work abroad. If they are going to work in Japan, then they want people to understand the Japanese business culture and so on, and that can, like I said, make a positive contribution to the working environment. These results here just show you very quickly where international students recruited by Japanese companies are likely to work. So as you can see, the vast majority of international graduates recruited by Japanese companies work in Japan. And the second highest alternative is working in Japan, followed by then being sent overseas to either that company's overseas offices and so on. So either way, if you are recruited by a Japanese company, chances are you will be working in Japan, at least either permanently, if you want to stay there, obviously, or for a certain time anyway, you will be able to work in Japan. These statistics here just show you the range of jobs that are allocated to international candidates. So these are the statistics for the jobs acquired by international graduates in Japan from 2004 to 2011. These results specifically show the jobs acquired by individuals that first went to Japan to study. So they first went on a student visa and then had their visa statuses changed to working visas. So it doesn't show all of international graduates in Japan. It just shows those that first of all studied there and then stayed on to work there. So around 3/4 of international graduates in Japan, as you can see, get work in the non-manufacturing industry sector, with the highest single job type being commerce and trade at around 27%. And around 1/4, therefore, get work in the manufacturing industry. Although there are obviously variations in the number of individuals that get jobs in each sector, what I'm hoping this will show you is that there are a wide range of job prospects available to international graduates in Japan. There isn't just one type of job available to you if you're interested in going and working in Japan. As I said, this shows the types of jobs for all international graduates in Japan who were there on student visas to begin with. If we look specifically at international graduates from English-speaking countries, then the highest single type of job that individuals typically get is English training or language training. So obviously we're going to be talking about the JET program later as well, which is a very popular option. That remains the highest type of job that English-speaking individuals typically get in Japan. I'd just like to give you a little bit of background information on the Japanese job market, just to kind of help you. This will hopefully be useful if you do try and find a job in Japan. There are around an estimated 5,800 Japanese companies that have capital of over 1 billion yen. So 1 billion yen is the equivalent to roughly 6.5 million pounds, which means that 99.7% of all Japanese companies have capital of less than 1 billion yen. So what I'm essentially trying to show you here is that obviously there are many Japanese companies that are very big and powerful. They're major brands that are known worldwide and are very powerful in their respective fields. But these major Japanese companies only make up a very, very tiny fraction of the Japanese job market. The majority of the Japanese job market is made up of smaller Japanese companies that may not be that famous worldwide. Therefore, the largest number of job opportunities in Japan lie with companies that may be less well known. I'm not trying to put you off applying to the larger Japanese companies. Obviously, it's good to apply for those as well, but just please do not dismiss the smaller, less famous Japanese companies as insignificant in Japan, because they make up more than 99% of the Japanese job market. Similarly, if we look at the kind of jobs that international candidates get in Japan, nearly half of all international candidates or graduates in Japan will find work with companies of less than 50 employees, so the smaller companies. And around 3/4 will find work with companies that have less than 1,000 employees. So again, this is just to show you that if you are interested in working in Japan, it's important to find which kind of company you want to work for and not be put off working there if it's smaller or less well known, because that is where most of the jobs are in Japan. Another thing that we tend to see is if you work for a smaller Japanese company, in general, you tend to be more likely to be able to use your skills as an individual and as an international candidate especially. Obviously, the less people there are in a company, the more opportunity there is for you to shine as an individual and actually use your skills as an individual. So that is something else that is beneficial of working for a smaller Japanese company. So I'm just coming up to the end of my presentation now. And before I finished, I wanted to quickly introduce Disco, which is, like I said, the company for which I work. Disco is a Japanese human resources consulting company. And one of the things that we specialize in is global recruitment for Japanese companies. So companies that are specifically interested in recruiting Japanese English bilinguals or other kind of bilingual candidates into their companies, Disco are there to help. The name Disco is an acronym for the Development of Information Services for Career Opportunities. And what we essentially do is connect international and global job seekers with Japanese and other companies that are looking to recruit that kind of global talent. One of the main ways in which we do this, or one of the main ways in which we're able to help young individuals, especially in England, trying to find work in Japan, is through events called career forums. Disco's career forums, what they essentially are, they are a series of job fair events that are held in various locations around the world, including Japan, America, England, Australia, and China. And one of the things that makes our career forums very different from other kinds of job fairs are the fact that you can potentially get recruited at these events themselves. So these are the largest job fairs in the world for Japanese English bilinguals. The Boston Career Forum is our oldest and largest event, and the Boston Career Forum 2013 actually took place last weekend, so on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of November. We had a total of 209 exhibiting companies and close to 5,000 international job seekers that came to the event. So like I said, these job fairs offer you the opportunity to potentially get recruited at the events themselves. As you can see in the photograph, the blue area in the middle, they are all company booths. Companies will come along, give company presentations, seminars. You can directly meet with company recruiters and so on. And then if you are interested in applying for a company, they can potentially interview you in one of the white interview rooms along the side there. And these are very formal, official interviews that take place at the event itself. And you can potentially, as I said, walk away at the end of the day with a job offer if it goes well. I myself was actually recruited by Disco at their London Career Forum 2012. I went along a couple of weeks after graduating luckily managed to get a job, and then a couple of months later I started working in Japan. So there are very, very real job opportunities available to individuals at these events. Just to finish, if anyone is interested in attending a career forum, the way it happens is you first of all register and create an account with www.careerforum.net, which is the official website for career forums. Once you've created an account, you can register for any event, and then on the day, like I said, meet with companies, attend company information sessions, and take part in interviews and hopefully get a job if you'd like one. Which, yes, brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I don't think we have any time for questions at the moment, but I will be upstairs, as I said, in the disco booth on the ground floor. So if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask, please feel free to come up and chat. Similarly, I'll also have a signing up sheet. If any of you want to come and give me your email addresses, I'll be happy to email these slides to people. Anyone who wants this information digitally, I can send them out after the day is over. So yes, thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you later.
Okay, thank you very much, Kiko. So next to the floor we have Hermione Waterfield, who'll be introducing the JET program on behalf of the Japanese Embassy.
Okay, hello, welcome to the JET program presentation. My name is Hermione, and I was a JET participant from 2010 to 2012. JET stands for Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. We send graduates to Japan for a contract of 1 year, which can be renewed up to 4 times, depending on your contracting organization. So, this is Japan. It's about the same landmass as Germany and has a population of 127 million. The media often shows Japan as a bustling, lively place of big cities and bright lights. And of course, that is true of Tokyo and Osaka and cities like that. But there's also a whole other side to Japan, and JET participants are likely to be experiencing that. The aim of the JET program is to internationalize Japan at the local level. So JET participants are sent to more rural areas of Japan and will have a really unique opportunity to see Japan in a different light. I myself was sent to Miyazaki Prefecture, which is in Kyushu, where magnificent mountains are. I didn't know anything about it when I heard that I was in Miyazaki, so obviously I looked on Wikipedia. And what I found on Wikipedia was subtropical climate. But when I got there, I found that, yes, it was very hot, but it was also a very beautiful place with mountains and lovely scenery, and everyone there was very friendly and helpful. Okay. Don't forget that we also have Tokyo Olympics in 2020. Everyone in Japan is very excited about it, and it's also another great opportunity for internationalization in Japan. So what is JET? The JET program is a government-run scheme to improve foreign language teaching and to promote international understanding at a grassroots level. It started in 1987, and in the first year there were 184 participants from 4 countries. There are currently over 4,000 participants from 40 countries, so it's really grown a lot since then. There are 2 types of position for UK graduates, assistant language teacher and coordinator for international relations. Okay, and this year, 137 ALTs and 7 CIRs were sent from the UK. I'm going to tell you a bit about the duties of each of these roles. Okay, so first, assistant language teacher. I think the title of the job really makes it clear what you're doing, but you will be in Japanese schools and you will work with a Japanese teacher of English in classrooms in Japan, and you will help with providing a native English speaker in lessons. Okay. As an assistant, you do not require a teaching qualification or a TEFL certificate, so that's nice, really. ALTs will work either in high school level or in junior high and elementary level. Okay. Your main role will be preparing teaching materials and promoting cultural exchange. You'll find that the students are really interested to learn about your home country and about your life in the UK. It's also important to encourage students to speak English because although they learn a lot of English, they don't have many opportunities to use it. So it's good to speak to them. You might find that they don't want to talk to you in lessons, but they will be very keen to come and talk to you outside of lessons. ALTs can also participate in extracurricular activities. So you can either join a club that's already there, either a Japanese-style one, or, for example, they have the normal sports, football, rugby, badminton, or you could join something like tea ceremony or calligraphy. A lot of ALTs also set up their own English club and run it themselves. As an ALT, you will not be required to speak Japanese, although obviously it helps if you learn a little bit while you're there, and there's help given by the program. Coordinators for international relations, however, are expected to have a high level of Japanese. You have to be able to speak Japanese as you will be working in a Japanese environment. Applicants have to have at least JLPT level 2 or above before they apply, although you do not have to have the qualification itself. The role of the CIR is to provide a bridge between your country, so if you're from Britain, the UK, and Japan, and you will also be promoting internationalization in your local community. So the duties might involve translating, interpreting, creating and organizing events. So for example, the CIR in my town made an event called World Festa, and we had lots of different countries represented by various ALTs and other foreigners living in our town, and the local residents came and we had a lot of fun together. Okay. JET program benefits. Okay. The JET program will provide you with a flight to and from Japan, provided that you finish your contract. They will also organize your work visa, so that's a lot of hassle out which you don't have to deal with. They also provide an excellent salary. The first year is 3.36 million yen, which is probably doesn't mean much in yen, but it's enough to live very comfortably, even after paying for your accommodation and taxes and health insurance. So you'll be absolutely fine with that, and you'll probably even have quite a lot of savings. There's a lot of support, starting with orientations. There's an orientation before you go, one when you arrive, and another when you get to your prefecture. So at those orientations, they'll teach you a little bit of Japanese, they'll teach you some etiquette in the Japanese workplace, and they'll give you some resources and ideas of what you should do in lessons. There's also an excellent support structure. So there's the government helpline, which you can call for local government, and they'll help you if you have any problems. Or in your own prefecture, you'll be given a supervisor at your school. And mine was excellent. When I arrived, she helped me find a flat, set up utility bills, get connected to the internet and phone, and we also had afternoon tea at school most days. There's also the JET network. So the old and new JETs are always very willing to help and give you advice about where to go to get things, or where to eat, or what to do in certain situations. The less material gains of the JET program are obviously that you're going to gain a lot of skills from working abroad and living there as well. You'll be really immersed in the culture, and you'll have a lot of time to get used to that and use the skills that you develop. The rewards of teaching. I know you're thinking, yes, that's very cliche, but it is actually very nice when your students, you can see your students developing, and then they get really excited about English, and it's really lovely when that happens. There's also a lot of opportunity for JETs to get involved in new hobbies and new activities, also learning the language. Obviously, immersion in Japanese and in Japan is really going to help you when you're learning Japanese. And here you can see martial arts and tea ceremony. There's also people joining in with local festivals and rice planting, I think that one is. So there's lots of opportunity. What you get out of JET is really what you put into it. So the more proactively you find something to do and get involved in the community, the more you're going to get out of the experience. You might also want to try the art of karaoke. This is a great way to make new friends, both Japanese and from other countries. Obviously, there are a lot of ALTs around from other countries other than the UK. Responsibilities. With great opportunity comes great responsibility. So I've already talked about a lot of these duties, but just to recap, you might be asked to create ideas and materials. The amount of responsibility you'll get in each lesson really depends on the teacher you're teaching with. So one teacher might want you to create a whole lesson. Other teachers might just want a filler exercise for the beginning or end. Another important point is coaching and attending speech and debate competitions. That's a key role for ALTs. But your most important responsibility will be how you conduct yourself. You might be the only British person that the people around you have ever met, and as such, they're going to base their ideas about Britain on you. So it's really important that you're polite and positive about the UK. I'm just going to go over the application and selection schedule quickly. So the application period is from October to November. It's currently open, and the deadline is November 29th, which is Friday, the last Friday of November, at 6 p.m. After that, there are interviews in January and February, followed by results in April, placements in May or June, orientation in the UK in early July, departure to Japan in August, and then another orientation in Tokyo and another orientation in your prefecture. So by the time you arrive, you really know what you're doing. So this is a very long process, as you can see, almost a year, and it really tests your patience. But it's also a really good opportunity for you to question your commitment to the program and decide whether it's really what you want to be doing. Okay. When you're applying, the important thing is to read the instructions really carefully, because it's not difficult, but there's a lot of paperwork involved, and it's important to do it correctly. Okay. There's a lot of advice on our website about how to apply. Life after JET. What did JETs do afterwards? Okay, so the most obvious route would be teaching. A lot of former JETs go into teaching, either in the UK, in primary and secondary schools, or teaching abroad still, but maybe not in an assistant capacity, either continuing in Japan or in other foreign countries. They also work in the British Council, like Tom. And they also teach Japanese. We're very proud of one of our first JETs, who has just won the award for secondary teaching, and he is a Japanese teacher in Tavistock, Crispin Chambers. Okay. There are a lot of other roles open to you. JET is going to give you a lot of useful transferable skills like flexibility, adaptability, patience, and cross-cultural understanding. And those are really valued by various companies. So in the civil service, there's at least one JET in every section, particularly the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, the Department of Education, and the Ministry of Defence are popular. And there's lots of multinational companies which you can get involved in. So if you want to use the skills you've gained, but you don't necessarily want to live in Japan, or you want an opportunity to use your Japanese but still want to be in the UK, or have an opportunity to go abroad at some point, there are all these companies like Deloitte, Robert Walters, and Sony. They all welcome ex-JETs. Okay. So you can find a JET in almost every sector. Okay. So this is our information for contact details. The website really has a very comprehensive information about the program, also about the application procedure and eligibility criteria. So if you're interested, we recommend that you read our website carefully, but obviously you are welcome to contact the JET desk on our email or by telephone. Okay. And that is the end of my presentation, a bit early. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take some now. If anyone wants to ask. Places per year. It varies very much.
Sorry, could you just repeat that into the mic? We're recording.
Just how many applications do you have for the number of places given each year? roughly?
We don't actually have any statistics for that because it varies every year, and it also depends on the places available in Japan. So I'm sorry, but
A couple down here. So we can just pass it.
Is the application process in the UK only applicable for UK nationalities, or can I only apply if
right.
I'm a UK national?
yeah, okay. So to be eligible to apply for the UK program, you have to hold a full UK passport. But we recommend that people who don't have one apply in the country for which they hold a passport, of the full passport. The JET program is currently running in 40 different countries. If your country does not run the JET program, then please contact the Embassy of Japan in your country, and ask that they start. Some are willing to start the program, so it's good.
Hi there. Is it possible to apply for both the ALT and the CIR position, or can you only apply for one or the other?
Right. If you want to apply for the CIR position, you can say on the application form that you would like to be considered also for the ALT position if you do not get a place as a CIR. ALTs, however, can only apply for ALT position. I'll just say a bit more about eligibility. As well as having a full UK passport, you have to have a bachelor's degree by the July before departure. So this year would be July 2014. And you are not allowed to have lived in Japan for 6 or more years out of the last 10. So I'm sure lots of people are eligible, so please apply. Okay. Thank you. Any more questions? No?
Part of the total program are the English speakers in this. Does it apply to Russians, Germans, etc.? You said 40 countries.
Yes, there are a lot of countries which are not native English speakers, but normally applicants are required to have native level English.
Okay. Hermione, we had a question about.
Yeah, are there any age restrictions on applying?
We do not have an upper age limit, but we recommend that candidates or potential candidates over the age of 39 contact the JET desk, because there might be some cultural issues that need to be discussed before you apply. Yep. Okay, thank you very much.